Before I was a politician, I was a public school teacher. I taught sixth grade language arts at Rhodes Middle School on the west side of San Antonio. And I often say that teaching middle school is the best preparation for politics. The west side is this beautiful, historic Mexican-American neighborhood. It's also one of the poorest zip codes in the entire state of Texas. So every day, my students struggled heroically to overcome poverty, overcome racism, overcome systems that were designed to hold them back. My students weren't just kids, they were survivors, dreamers, fighters. I saw it in their eyes, this unshakable resolve, this unconquered spirit. Their hearts burned with a fire older than the world. There was a word that the veteran teachers would use to describe the kids on the west side, a Spanish word, ganas. Growing up, I saw that same fight in my mother, a preacher's daughter from Laredo who left home at 19, moved up here to Austin, met my birth father, a 21-year-old high school dropout whose drinking problem sometimes led to violence. One night, he became abusive again. But that night, my mother's love rose to meet it. She packed all of our stuff into her little Ford Escort. She drove me to the hotel where she worked. She begged the manager to let us stay in one of the rooms until we found this little apartment here in East Austin, about a mile from this venue. There wasn't room for a nursery, so I slept in a crib in her closet. And she was so proud of that closet. She decorated it with toys and pictures. No one was going to tell her it wasn't a nursery. Like my students, my mom was a fighter. And back then, she looked over at the state capitol and she saw Texas Democrats like Ann Richards and Bob Bullock fighting for her. So when I was 5 years old, she told me we were Democrats because she said Democrats fight for the people. Now, let's be honest, we haven't seen that kind of fight from the National Democratic Party in quite a while. National Democrats don't know how to fight. They're comfortable on the coasts and comfortable with the status quo. But there's something about living in a red state that makes you scrappy. Because Texas Democrats know how to fight. Whether it was LBJ pushing the Great Society through Congress, or Barbara Jordan impeaching Richard Nixon, or our own Joaquin Castro impeaching Donald Trump, or Beto O'Rourke interrupting Greg Abbott's press conference in Uvalde, Texas Democrats know how to fight for the people con ganas. That is what we do. We fight for the many against the powerful few, whether they are bullies, bigots, or billionaires. You know, the more I see what's happening at our state capitol and our national capitol, the more I think the only minority destroying America is the billionaires. Trans people are 1% of the population. Muslims are 1% of the population. Undocumented people are 1% of the population. We are focused on the wrong 1%. Trans people aren't taking away our health care. Muslims aren't defunding our schools. Immigrants aren't cutting taxes for themselves and their rich friends. It's the billionaires and their puppet politicians. The culture wars are a smokescreen. So many of the divisions in this state and in this country are manufactured by billionaires who want us fighting each other instead of fighting them. They want us looking left and right at our neighbors instead of looking up at them. The biggest divide in our politics is not left versus right, it's top versus bottom. The people at the top, the Elon Musks and the Rupert Murdochs of the world, they work so hard to keep us angry and divided because our unity is a threat to their wealth and their power. So their social media algorithms and their cable news networks tear us apart. They divide us by race, by gender, by culture, by religion. It's the oldest strategy in the world: divide and conquer. They want us to be afraid of immigrant moms and gay kids so that we don't notice that they are abolishing the Department of Education, gutting our health care, and cutting taxes for their donors. They want to keep us from seeing all that we have in common. They want to keep us from realizing that there is far more that unites us than divides us. Because once we do, we will come together across race, across gender, across culture, across religion to take power back for ourselves and our communities. That's what they're afraid of. That is why Donald Trump is trying to rig the next election. He and his allies in Congress just passed the largest transfer of wealth in American history with their big, beautiful bill. Literally kicking millions of people, including millions of Texans, off their health care to fund tax cuts for billionaires. They know that's unpopular, but they don't care because they have a plan. Trump just called Governor Abbott and told him to redraw the political maps in Texas to get him 5 more seats to protect their majority in the next election, regardless of how we all vote. And Texas is the testing ground for this strategy. If their power grab succeeds here in Texas, they're going to do the same thing in every red state across the country to rig the 2026 elections. You know, normally when you pass unpopular policies, you lose the next election. That's how a democracy is supposed to work. Unless one side cheats. If they get away with this, they will never have to fear the voters ever again. They can enrich themselves and their donors with impunity, with no consequences, with no accountability. This is the rot at the core of our broken political system. Politicians choosing their voters instead of voters choosing their politicians. In any other industry, this would be called a conflict of interest. And it's why I have already filed a bill that would take the power to draw political maps out of the hands of politicians and put it in the hands of the Texans we seek to represent. This is not partisan. Whether you are a Democrat or a Republican or an independent, none of us want politicians silencing our voices and rigging the next election. I want to leave you with this thought. My granddad was a Baptist preacher in South Texas. And he taught me when I was real little that we follow a barefoot rabbi who gave 2 commandments: love God and love neighbor. Because there is no love of God without love of neighbor. Every single person bears the image of the sacred. Every single person is holy. Every single person counts. This American democracy started with that same self-evident truth that all people are created equal. This democracy is not just a constitution, it's a covenant. It's a relationship between neighbors. It's a promise that we make to each other to share this country. Those billionaires and their puppet politicians are breaking that promise. With every transfer of wealth, with every suppressed vote, with every gerrymandered district, they are breaking that sacred promise. And breaking promises in a relationship is not love, it's abuse. And my mom taught me that true love doesn't tolerate abuse. "2,000 years ago, when the powerful few abused the many, that barefoot rabbi walked into the seat of power and flipped over the tables of injustice. His love rose to meet abuse without becoming it. To those who love democracy, to those who love our neighbors, it's time to start flipping tables." That is what my granddad taught me. That's what my mom taught me here on the east side of Austin. It's what my students taught me on the west side of San Antonio. It's what LBJ and Barbara Jordan taught me. It's what Joaquin and Beto taught me. And together, Texas Democrats, that is how we will take back this state and this country con ganas. Thank you so much for being here.